be kind of aware, not necessarily what they're called, but just be aware that, especially if you're buying an older property, that the textures may be different. And you have a couple different things you can do. You can patch the cracks. You can patch the cracks, like if there's foundation damage, and not retexture. You can do a full retexture. Sometimes that requires that you actually sand everything down, or you can do a texture match. So we're going to talk a little bit about the types of textures for your property. That way, when you're talking to your GC and you're getting a repair bid to retexture or to fix cracks in your walls, you kind of have more questions to ask them. Is it going to be a texture match? Are you going to redo the whole thing? Does it include caulking the baseboards? Does it include, caulking the cracks if that's what they choose to do, and sand down and that type of stuff? So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the different types of textures we see in houses in Texas. There's two types of texture. There's a level 5 and there's a level 5 and a level 3. A level 5 is a flawless finish. What they do with the level 5 is they come in, they sand down the walls, they mud the walls, and then see, mud by itself, when it dries, sometimes it cracks, sometimes it's porous, sometimes you have little divots in it, right? And what they do is they turn off all the lights and they hit it with a blue light. And what the blue light will do, it's kind of like a black light, but it's a blue light, but it's kind of got the effect of a black light. You can see every blemish inside of that museum finish. Come back, they put some mud over it, they sand it down until they see no blemishes at all. That's a level 5. It's about 3 times more expensive than a level 3. I have no idea why there's only a level 5 and a level 3. To my knowledge, that's the two types of levels. A level 3 is essentially a level 5 without the blue light or without the final completely flush, perfect, flawless finish. We're seeing that more and more when people are doing rehabs. They're doing a flat finish or a museum finish throughout the whole entire property. And I imagine it's a very contemporary look, and that's how, that is how it's going to be probably going forward. A lot of people going for the contemporary look, and the museum finish is what it's called. You have certain textures are the museum finish. It's flat. It's done with a trowel, and then you have another type of finish out, and that's finish outs that are applied with a sprayer or a hopper. Another type of finish out is finishes that are applied with a brush. So let's talk about the finishes that are applied with a sprayer first. You have orange peel, which is essentially they take their hopper and they spray the walls down, and it hits the walls and kind of splatters on the walls, and they don't make it smooth at all, and they don't sand it much at all. So you pretty much have a very sloppy finish, if you would, coming from a hopper, but that's the look that particular wall needs. Now, note, in many houses, there are 2 or 3 different types of finishes, and if you're doing a texture match, you're going to have to change up your hopper and your technique, or your sub is, in order to match those particular types of textures. You have orange peel with sand in it. It's the same concept as orange peel, only they actually take sand and they mix it into the hopper. It will give you that very splattered look with little sand pebbles inside of the hopper. Those are 2 separate techniques or 2 separate styles of applying it to the surface. And now you know that if you're doing a texture match and you do just the splatter or just the orange peel on it and you don't put the sand in it, it's not going to look exactly the same. Then you have what's called knockdown. Knockdown is essentially the same process as orange peel. They splatter it all on the walls, but they come back with it with a trowel and they flatten it all out. So they take the splatter and they knock it down, or they flatten it out, and it will give different dimensions. This type of repair is really good in a lot of different situations. If you had major foundation cracks, it covers up a lot of the blemishes from old foundation. So if you're retexturing a house, a lot of people are using this because it simply just covers up a lot of the mistakes that were prior to the property. You have another type of application of texture, okay? It is a brush method. Essentially, there's two separate brush methods. One called Crowfoot. They take this really sloppy looking brush. It looks like it looks like a fanned out mop maybe. And on that, when they texture it in a Y. So they come down, dip it in their mud, come down again, and that will make it not look so choppy. And it looks like, it's called crow's foot because it looks like the top of a claw of a crow's foot, very wrinkly or something like that. And there's a special way to apply that. You can't apply that through a hopper. if you're interviewing your subcontractors and you say, how are you going to match that crow's foot? And they say, well, I'm going to put mud in a hopper and match it that way. It will look atrocious. You can't match it unless you use that brush method. Another method that we see a lot of times in older houses on the ceilings, it's called the swirl. Essentially, they take a pad, they put it on top of a drill or something that spins, and they spin a pattern into the mud on the surface. That texture, sometimes you see it on the walls, most of the time you see it in the ceilings. If you're trying to texture match that, it's almost impossible. The way that the texture starts, they start at one side of the house, move over, up, over, all the way to the back side of the house. If you're trying to fix a repair in the middle, you're gonna miss some of that texture, won't match evenly, and it's almost impossible to match it unless you redo the whole thing. So if you have the swirl type of texture, ask your contractor, are you going to redo the whole entire thing? Are you going to sand it down, or are you just going to try to do a texture match? On a swirl, it's almost impossible to texture match. All the rest of the types of textures, it's real easy to if you hire someone skilled in texturing, but on the swirl, it's tough to actually do a texture match on it. And then you have a third application of texture. The third application is roll-on, where they take a roller of some sort and they roll the walls with the texture. So in most roll-on applications, they're going to take a very thick roller. That's actually a special roller. It's got a special like slots in it or holes in it, and then you put that in like the paint tray, and you're going to roll the whole entire wall. Okay. There is a method to do this. Most of the time, you're doing it in a Y. So you go right, left, all the way down, and then you also have the roll-on with sand. So this is going to look kind of like a flat finish, because it's going to be flat where the roller is for the most part. And you see this in a lot of higher end houses. And then you can do the roller with the sand, where it's the same process. You're just throwing sand into either the paint or into the mud to kind of get a speckle effect on the wall as well. A lot of times we get asked to resurface something on a property. And there's some things that you can resurface. I'm going to talk to you about what you can resurface with epoxy. It's a very strong, very durable product. Just be careful when you're using epoxy. It's flammable, and it needs heat to dry. So if you just apply epoxy to a surface and you don't apply the heat, there's a certain way to heat cure it. It's not going to adhere to whatever you're epoxying so well. So just be careful that you know those two things. It's flammable, so you can't be smoking. Don't have it by a pilot light, and there's a certain way you can apply the heat without using fire in this application. So here's what you can resurface. A lot of times we're resurfacing, now it's called a high-grade epoxy. Okay, you can resurface the tub, you can resurface countertops, you can resurface showers, you can resurface sinks, you can resurface any tile, including wall tile. So a lot of times in 1950s, 60s, and 70s homes, they have the pink and green tile, and you can actually resurface that. Now, you can technically resurface the floor that is tile. However, in high traffic areas, it will eventually wear off. There's also, if you're going to retexture or if you're going to resurface something, you have to use certain cleaning products. That's not going to hurt it. It's a very durable product, but there are some products that are acidic that will remove it, such as Works, that blue product for toilets, that will eat most epoxies. It's so strong it'll actually eat the epoxy. So just be careful that if you choose to use it like in a rental property, that you advise your tenants that they can only use certain products to clean a resurface. So you can also resurface a backsplash. You can resurface cabinets. It looks really well, but it's cheaper to paint them. So you can technically resurface cabinets with a high-grade epoxy. However, it's typically cheaper to paint them, even though it is possible. Now, a couple times this has happened to us where people have said, hey, can you resurface my toilet? Well, one, toilets are not that expensive. And two, the answer is no. You cannot resurface a toilet. To be honest, I don't know the exact reasons why you can't resurface it. It is porcelain. But all of our resurfacing guys laugh and say, no, we can't resurface it. You just cannot resurface the toilet. So don't try. Don't try to resurface it. It's going to peel off. It's going to come off. There again, I don't know why, because it seems like you should be able to, but you cannot resurface toilets. Time is money, and the faster you work and help your contractor with your rehab, the more successful you're going to be. So I'm going to teach you some stuff that you need to do once you get going on your rehab, or even before you get going on your rehab. You need to start picking out some material. You need to start picking out some color selection. And I want to talk to you briefly about what you should be looking for, what products you should be looking at, what colors you need to be looking for in your house, so that way when it comes time to install those items or purchase those items, you're ready to go and make that decision. One of the first things you should do when you know that you're for surely closing on the house, even if you haven't even got everything squared away with your GC, start picking up the materials that you need and start picking up the colors that you need. Here's some exterior colors that you're going to need to pick out, okay? You need to pick out the trim color, the exterior paint color, the exterior brick color if you're going to paint the brick. Sometimes there's siding that you're going to paint one color, a brick another color, and the fascia and the soffit another color, okay? A lot of times you're just using 2, maybe 3 colors, not 4. However, you need to know a color for all 4 of those categories. You have shutters. A lot of times the shutters are going to match the door, which is also going to match the trim. However, that's not always the case. Just make sure that you know your shutters color, your door color, your trim color, your fascia color, your brick color, and your exterior siding color. Those are just color selections that you should be aware of going into it, and make sure that, depending upon the colors you choose, that your contractor is aware. Because there's a difference in price between a 1-color paint and a 2-color paint on the exterior of a house. With this too, since it's an exterior item, the color of your mulch, if you know that up front, then you can tie that into the rest of your house, your shutters and your front door, or however that looks out. If you're going to mulch on the outside, which a lot of people do, this would be a good time before you start the rehab to start doing that color selection. So inside, what do you need inside a house? There are a lot of things that you need to make choices on the inside of a house, and I just want to share with you what those are. So you have wall color, any accent walls, or any separate colors than your normal wall color. Most investors are painting the whole entire house one color and then coming back and doing an accent, say in the living room, one in every bedroom, or something along those lines. But your wall color, your accent color, your ceiling color, which sometimes is the same as your wall color, sometimes it's white, sometimes it's other. We're seeing a lot of people use grays for their ceilings that are different colors than their walls. Your fireplace, typically inside, is going to be painted its own separate color. Sometimes it's a shade or 2 different from, say, your wall color or your accent color. But the fireplace, if you choose to paint the brick on it, is typically a separate color than the remaining accent walls. You need to pick your kitchen cabinet colors. You need to pick your door and trim colors. In some other states, it's common that everything's being stained. So in Texas, most people are doing white trim, white doors, but sometimes people are staining trim and staining doors. In that case, you need to know the color of the trim that you're staining and the color for the doors that you're staining at this point. You're going to paint your bathroom cabinets, and then once you select all the different colors that you have inside, then you have to select your sheen. Okay, you essentially have 3 grades of sheen, or 3 grades of types of paint that you can get. You're going to have flat, eggshell, and semi-gloss. There are more, but those are the most 3 common ones. In my opinion, and this is whatever you want it to be, for the baseboards and the doors, you should use an oil-based paint that is white. And you're using an oil-based paint because a lot of times animals are close to it, kids are close to it. You have oil on your hands, and that will make fingerprints on your doors, where if it's an oil-based paint, it's very easy to wash off and it stays clean better, faster, longer. If you're going to be painting your walls and you're going to be flipping the house, I recommend that you paint everything in a flat. Even though a lot of people don't prefer the flat, they prefer something like eggshell, something with a little bit of sheen in it. I recommend that you do flat because it's the only grade of paint, the sheen of paint that you can get that you can touch up without it leaving a roller mark. So if you paint something high gloss and then your carpenter comes and he busts a hole in the wall and you have to fix that little hole, if you just roll the roller over where that little hole is, you're going to have a mark where your roller was when you're matching semi-gloss. But if you match flat, it will blend in and you won't even be able to see that you did a repair there. That's the only reason I recommend flat. I think that eggshell and semi-gloss is actually a better product. It wipes off, cleans better. Paint's come a long way. Flat cleans pretty good nowadays, but it definitely is awesome when you are trying to fix or repair. Using the flat to touch it up is the way to go. After you've picked the colors for the exterior and picked the colors for the interior, you have a series of colors or finish outs that you need to pick for the interior to keep on with your rehab. Again, if you've picked these out before your rehab starts, you're going to save yourself a lot of time because you're going to know exactly what you want versus trying to shop for the material when you need it. Get an idea of what you need to buy before you actually come to the point in the rehab where you're going to buy it. So finish outs on the inside, you have hardware, colors, doorknobs, plumbing fixtures, cabinet pulls, and light fixtures. So you should be choosing your ceiling fans, all your kitchen cabinet hardware, whether it's knobs or pulls, all of your fixtures. So your faucets in your bathroom, in your tubs, on all of your sinks. You want to make sure you know what you're getting. Finish out, quality, even if you went and selected what items you're getting, don't buy them right now, but at least you know what you're getting. Here's a good time to do it. At some point, you're also going to have to pick out the materials to do your finish out on your tile work. So you need to figure out what kind of tile for flooring in the wet areas you're going to use, what kind of tile for backsplash, if you're doing a shower tub enclosure, or if you're doing the surround of a shower. Let's start choosing those colors. Same with a soap box or a border, a shower border. A lot of times we're doing, say like the top 3 or 4 feet up a wall and then doing a different color like a glass border or a different type of tile. Well, if you have different colors of tile, that would be a good, you need to choose what colors that you want. Along with the color of tile that you're choosing, you also need to choose a grout that matches it. If you get all these colors up front and you discuss it with your contractor, one, it's easier for them to bid it out and give you a proper estimate because they know what kind of materials you're using. And 2, you're not scrambling at the end to try to get these in play when you should have chose the colors way, way, way before. Even before you start the rehab, you should be choosing your colors. Now is also the time to choose your carpet, your laminates, your hardwood, your engineered hardwood. If you have vinyl plank, you're choosing all of your flooring. Go figure out what you want so it can be installed quicker, faster. My name is Ron Carlson. I'm with Renovation Gurus. I appreciate you taking time to watch all this information. I'm hoping that it benefits you in your investment world, that you are able to buy more houses, that you're wiser, smarter because of this education. Propelio Academy has a lot more videos. Continue to watch them, continue to educate yourself. If for some reason you want to contact me or you want to contact somebody on my team, feel free to reach us at renovationgurus.com. You can also call our 855 number. It's 855-99-GURUS. Gurus translated as 48787. So it'll be 855-99-48787, or you can reach us at admin@renovationgurus.com. If you have questions, if you need a bid, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you for your time.